Welcome to 1 Million Cups. My name is Isabel. I'm one of the organizers for the team that helps to run this event every week. We're actually a separate organization from the deck, so if you have questions specific about this space that we're in, you will want to talk to Emmanuel. So yes, 1 Million Cups is a separate nonprofit. I will tell you all about us in just a moment. I'd like to know who's here for the first time. 3? 4? Awesome. Well, welcome. We're glad that you heard about us. And we always love having new people come, and we always love repeats. We're here every single Wednesday. So bring a friend with you next time. We're trying to grow our audience. Dallas has an awesome reputation. 1 Million Cups is in nearly 200 markets across the United States with expansion plans. And we want to continue to be known as one of the best. And we are that because of all of you. So thank you for helping us do what we do every week. What exactly is 1 Million Cups? Let me tell you. It's basically an organization that brings entrepreneurs together to really uplift, empower, and support what your mission is. We are created by the Kaufman Foundation, which is also a nonprofit that's based in Missouri. So this whole concept came out of this team. There were a couple of people that sat down discussing how they could connect with more entrepreneurs. They really could only count on their fingers how many they knew in their local community. So they decided to come up with this concept where they would have a couple of people present their businesses in a room to a group of people. The first event had less than 10 people, and it's continued to grow from there, and a lot of different cities want to launch their own as well, and here we are 5 years later. What is it that actually happens? We have 2 presenters that are in startup stage, which means they are either 5 years in business or they're just about to launch. We don't usually have businesses that are more than 5 years old present on this stage. If we do, it's only because they have something perhaps very unique that they are now launching, and we want you all to know about it. So they get 6 minutes to present, and then we have 15 minutes of Q&A, which is run by someone on our team. And hopefully the plan is that they will get insight from you in order to help them when they leave and continue on with their business, and then to network. So thank you for being here. We hope that you make some great connections with each other today. We have an app, so if you don't have an app on your cell phone, please download this app so that you can continue to stay in touch with what we're doing, and then also so you can network with other people. So today we have 2 presenters, BidCrane and Menooing. I am going to invite BidCrane to come on stage first. We welcome all of our presenters with us. We stand up and we give them a round of applause. So welcome to the stage, Brandon and Xavier from BidCrane.
Hey guys, how are you today? So we are BidCrane. I'm Brandon. This is my partner Xavier. How's it going? So BidCrane is a construction app designed to help disadvantaged businesses find more construction projects, along with helping enterprise companies find those disadvantaged businesses to do business with. So basically you can think of it as kind of a hybrid between an Indeed and a LinkedIn, kind of mixed with a Salesforce component, to where right now it's just a web application, but eventually we want it to be a CRM tool, not just a lead generation type mechanism. So right now construction in the USA is booming. It's about $800 billion worth of things going on. There's a big project in basically every major city. LA has a $6 billion project. New York has a Hudson Yards and a couple skyscrapers going on. There's a few things in Miami, Philly, along with Dallas. Xavier would kind of chime in on that.
So in Dallas-Fort Worth in 2017, the construction volume pipeline topped out at about $22 billion. And that's split up between the commercial and residential sector. And this year, 2018, that number is expected to grow about 6%. As you can tell just by driving up Interstate 35 and 75, I mean, there's tower cranes everywhere. The industry's booming. And that's putting a lot of pressure on owners and developers to maximize time and resources in the industry where cost and time is paramount. The problem is that there's a great disparity in the amount of contract volume that's allocated towards veteran, minority, and women-owned businesses. Typically on all construction projects, all owners and developers have a diversity goal, which is roughly between 20 and 30%. it varies between private and public sector. So with private sector, the goals are roughly between 20 and 25. State and local goals are between 23 and 26%. And far too often, these entities fall short of reaching that goal. And when you look at, a $22 billion industry just here in Dallas alone, obviously there's a lot of money out there, and if these companies are missing the mark, that means a lot of money is being left on the table by women, veteran, and minority-owned businesses. That's where BidCrane comes in. BidCrane has developed a system that allows large enterprises to publish these opportunities specifically geared towards these minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses, but it works twofold. So the same quote-unquote disadvantaged businesses are able to scour our software to find these projects, track them, and communicate with these large enterprises on bid opportunities. It also allows them to partner with material suppliers, stay up to date on industry news. So if there's a new development going on that may be coming down the pipeline in a bond package, they're able to jump on it and find out about it firsthand right here. It's also an opportunity for them to build their business. So there's a continuing education aspect to our software as well, to where they're able to log on and watch webinars led by successful industry professionals covering topics that are helping these businesses build their capacity.
So right now the software is free. We launched back in February, so it's only live about 2 months. Eventually we want to have a kind of a pay by monthly service, like a subscription-based service. We don't know the actual numbers yet, but those are kind of some soft numbers we've been playing with. And on the enterprise side, companies, what we've found, they kind of have different needs for the product itself. So some companies want to use it as an all-encompassing tool to post jobs, to post events, to post webinars, and some just want to use it just to post jobs or just to post events. So that's kind of going to be on an as-needed basis or as-wanted basis as far as the revenue model. But so far we've had pretty good traction on the companies we've met in the last 2 months. Right now everyone's interested. It's just they're trying to figure out how they want to use the tool itself. And the biggest, I guess, issue we've had is kind of scaling to their need. Because some companies we've had to turn down, like, hey, we can't do that right now at this point. But we'll come back in a year or two to see if we can support you. So right now we got about 20 active users. City of Dallas, City of Arlington, they're literally interested, so they're in reviewing a proposal. We've submitted them. And these are companies that we've met with that have expressed interest. We have a meeting with the City of Fort Worth on April 4th, so that should go pretty well. We're also selected as a participant in the Div Inc. Capital Factory Accelerator Program starting in April. So that should be pretty fun and interesting, so we can kind of learn some more things and help grow our business as well. Right now, since our product is kind of niche, we kind of fall in between two areas where the companies that just supply leads and projects, and companies like B2G now that they just focus on diversity analytics for companies. So they basically provide all the data and analytics to show companies, okay, if you spent $100 billion, X amount went to disadvantaged businesses. This is how you can improve that and integrate different methodologies to improve that. And these other companies, they're just basically what they call plan rooms, where they post jobs and build leads to companies. Dodge is another analytics company though as well. So I think we have a good market space to get into. It's just we have to kind of capitalize that and produce a quality product. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. One company, Beck, you saw Beck over here, they, outside of all the companies we met, they mostly fall short of their diversity stuff. Beck is probably the only company that is hitting over. I think their goal is like 25%, they're at 30, because they have like a hands-on program. So they actually meet every single disadvantaged business that they do a project with. So it's a slow process, but they meet everyone and kind of show them how they can do business with them for a platform.
Awesome, great presentation, guys. So I'm going to now facilitate our Q&A. So if you're in the audience, it would be great if you could start thinking about what questions you want to ask. And when you do have a question, just raise your hand and I'll come around with the mic. And first, what we always start out with is asking the presenters, what can the local community do for you guys? And that's really what 1 Million Cups is all about, to see how can the community help you guys get to the next step.
Awesome.
Whoever, for both of you.
I mean, any industry advice would be helpful, because we're young. He's a construction engineer by trade. I'm a finance guy by trade. man, hopeless entrepreneur, by trade as well. But yeah, industry information, any outside information for people that have questions that may not understand the industry, but have questions that could help us kind of think about things outside the box. Right now, we actually backstrapped the whole project ourselves, and we're getting to the point where now we're going to maybe start needing investors, so that as well. And any information, criticism, constructive criticism, all that good stuff. Anything to look out for.
Awesome. We got one question here in the back.
I have two questions. I'm confused. Is it software or is it a website?
It's a website,
It's
so
a
it's a
website.
web application. Yeah.
Okay.
So eventually it'll become more of a CRM tool that we want to integrate with the company's existing tools. But right now it's a website. You log on, create an account, and you get all the information through the website itself. Yeah.
So it sounds like you've created an online marketplace, and that kind of makes sense to me because you're connecting minority-owned businesses to contracts, right? I guess where you lost me was when you started talking about webinars. And so I don't really understand what the intent of the site is. The intent of the site to provide this open marketplace, or are you looking to create a social media site where people are kind of logging on and there's different functions?
No, it's more of a marketplace. So with the webinars, they're hosting topics, say for instance, whether it's estimating a project. Currently, there are events held by trade organizations here, say for instance, if it's the Welding Association. They might host an event, a capacity building event where they invite companies to come learn about a certain topic. The only problem is they have no way to get the word out throughout this vast market about these events. There's no central source for that. So we're putting everything online so where, if I'm an unexperienced welder out in Minnesota, I can log on to BidCrane and learn everything I know to get my business started right there. That answer your question?
It does, yes.
Good morning, Kelvin Justice from Infago Solutions. Question for you: with the name BidCrane, does it seem like it's limiting to you? Because when I looked at the name and looked it up last night, I'm like, well, I'm really not that interested in this company, just because of the name, because I don't do construction. But we do IT work for major projects. So what you're doing has actually fit what we're doing. So have you thought about maybe changing that name a little bit?
We haven't thought about changing the name at all. We've actually got a lot of compliments on it. Nothing against you, but people think it's catchy. And we're hoping with the logo as well, the crane, it kind of signals construction.
And also, I guess with the name, most companies, you create your own name. Before Google was Google, what was a Google, or a Yahoo? So I think,
It just seems tempting, that's all.
yeah, it's great to have a catchy name that hits right the mark as soon as you do it, but it's kind of rare in today's world.
So you guys mentioned one of your companies that are interested in your program, for example, is Beck, and you mentioned that they're already meeting these minority goals. What are they trying to get out of BidCrane? Are they trying to keep that level of minority involvement, or are they trying to expand, or what is their current goal?
Yeah, so with Beck, they wanted to keep that influx coming and use us as a tool to supply a database for them. Because, like I said, they're doing a lot of legwork, and they're meeting a lot of people daily, and they wanted a database where they can go to that's semi-vetted out and pull from there and kind of, pinpoint the people they meet with. Because they have meetings with, 15, 16 different people. And, guys that are engineers are spending, 2-3 hours, teaching these people how to win Beck jobs, which is great, but they want a tool to make that, maybe cut that time down, or maybe even do that once a week instead of 5 times a week. That's great.
Hi there, my name is Mackenzie. I have a lot of questions, but I'll just ask one for now. I don't want to hog my bud. What are your company goals for 2018 for BidCrane? What is it that you guys are going after this year?
Right now, we want to get our product solid because after meeting everyone, we know that they have an interest, but we're far from being comfortable like supporting a big enterprise client like Beck. So we want to get our analytics good, our delivery good, and just have a solid product. That's why we're not worried about charging right now, because we want the product to actually be robust and a tool that these companies can actually use and not use for a month and go away, and come back and just be like, man, this is a tool is solid. I want to tell my colleagues about this and keep going, and then build from there. So I would say infrastructure, and then just building from there. And scalability.
Morning.
Hey.
Good job, fellas. But question. So long term, what is the revenue model?
So as far as this revenue would be the monthly subscription base, we know that's their, like I mentioned, the B2G, they charge $100,000 a year. I mean, a year just for certain, modules. So building our user base, so the disadvantaged company would be at a smaller price point. So we, after hundreds of thousands of those entities in our system, making a monthly fee from that, and then the enterprise user, which we can charge, hundreds to maybe thousands of dollars per month for those guys, and that would be our basic revenue model right now. It's pretty simple, but it's kind of.
And so basically, so one price for small companies at a disadvantage, and then also, I think it's a larger or so a higher price for, the banks or the cities?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, because they may use it in different capacities.
Morning. Hey guys, good job. Interesting stuff in our big construction, North Texas. Yeah, you've got a good market. One quick thing, two questions. One, so why do most firms, except for Beck, who you've mentioned, why do most firms or the city, why are they missing these goals they have? And then two, are you guys mainly focused on working with all the small companies looking to get into this and claim that earmarked business? Or is the focus more on the big contractors like Beck and the city, whomever, to make them available to that large, high-volume marketplace of smaller contractors? I'm trying to see where you really have I know that's a marketplace play, but is there a primary interest in kind of market participants that you have? Thanks.
So, to the first part of your question, DFW is a huge market, and there's a lot of minority, women, and veteran-owned construction companies that exist. There's just not one central database to find them all. So, kind of like the middle ground currently is the trade organizations, like I mentioned earlier, like one of our members right now, or users right now, National Association of Minority Contractors. They pretty much partner with all of these disadvantaged businesses. But say, for instance, like the large construction companies, they'll donate huge sums of money just to, have their logo on all the NAMAC flyers and become buddy-buddy in order to get access to these companies. There's no central database. BidCrane provides that database for them to find them all. For the second part of your question, as far as how it marries both ends of the spectrum for disadvantaged businesses and large companies, we feel like we're serving both. I mean, with this database, we're able to kind of eliminate all the extra legwork and provide an extra measure of good faith effort to provide information to disadvantaged businesses. And for disadvantaged businesses, it's one source where you can find everything.
Also, piggyback on that, but what we have found in all the meetings that there's a bigger interest from the enterprise company right now, just because they're having trouble reaching those extra 2 or 3 percentiles. So I guess the problem is, like, where do we put most of our focus in on that side? But the good thing is, like, if you bring the big boys, the little boys will come because they want to get business from the big guys, and vice versa. So it's kind of a weird area, but I think it could work if executed correctly.
Awesome. Yeah. So we have time for about 1 or 2 more questions. So if you didn't get, I know there's a lot more hands up, but if you didn't get to ask your question, please do stay in touch with BidCrane on social media. Stick around afterwards to get your question answered. So I'll go here to gentleman in the back.
Hi. So one of my questions is, from a database perspective, you're pulling from certain databases out there, like construction databases that have bids, is what I'm hearing. Are there other databases that you can attach to that aren't necessarily construction based, or are, but that can pull those into or feed those into an ERP system?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest ones is done in Bradstreet. They have an API that we can get access to their 80 million companies or businesses. That's the big one. It costs a lot, but that's probably the 800-pound gorilla that, if we want to go that route, we could get access to basically every company, in America and part of the world. But we have, so a lot of these companies, they want to give us their database. database. They're like, hey, we want you to maintain our database. We just want to be able to go to your site and pull the information we need because our database is an Excel spreadsheet with maybe 1,000 entries or whatever. We don't want to have to go through the spreadsheet. We'll give it to you and let you maintain it. We'll pay you a fee to maintain it, or pay you a fee to maintain it and post our job. So the DMV would be the big one, probably right now. That if we wanted to go that route, would definitely be really a good look for us to do.
Your competitors have some awesome revenue. Those numbers are huge. My question is so are you guys broke is it a broker fee? Basically what that monthly SaaS fee will be because you're brokering the big enterprise and the smaller companies
we're like the middleman between both. So it would be like a broker fee to connect you or to maintain your information.
That $200 seems low for a big old.
It is, yeah. That was some numbers we were playing around with. I mean, it could go to thousands, but just right now, we have to be able to supply that demand for that cost.
I wanted to hear the thousands, man.
Yeah. We want to charge $2,500 a month, but
that's an awesome problem.
Okay, do we have anybody else with any final questions? Try to get that right. Mackenzie's got more. Yeah, do you want to ask one more?
Okay, so what made you do this? What made you start this business?
I'm a construction engineer by trade. I work a lot in the community with helping companies build these numbers. And, through that process, I'm like, there's got to be an easier way to do this. Like, these companies are craving information, and that's where I got inspired.
yeah, that was basically, we had a conversation at Starbucks. I was working on a little kind of payment app. I'm his cousin, basically. So we were talking about his job or whatever, and he was like, because it's a lot of physical legwork that they have to do. The construction industry is old. It's old school. Everything's paper and pen. There's no automation. It's like these guys are wasting time meeting these companies, and the companies they meet, they really can't use. They're not up to par to their credentials. So I think we should create something that at least can cut the time down. And at least these guys don't have to put on events that only 2 people show up, and the other person's your competitor trying to see what you're doing to figure out how you're getting people. And it's just like, let's do it. There's nothing in it like it. I mean, these companies are big, but they're kind of broad. Our focus is right now just on Dallas, Fort Worth, and we're going to grow. But I think there's a niche market for a tool like this.
Well, again, awesome job, and thank you guys for being so open and transparent with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, BidCrane. That was great. So this is our little intermission before we invite the next presenter on stage. So yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed that presentation. Dallas is obviously has proven to be a great market for entrepreneurship, and it's going to continue to be more of a big deal. People are moving to Dallas from Silicon Valley, and if you talk to Trey Bowles, he'll tell you that you don't have to leave Dallas to have a startup. So good job, everybody that's here in entrepreneurship. I do want to take a moment to thank our sponsors. We have, let's start with the deck. We're sitting in a space that's been donated to us. The Dallas Entrepreneurship Center offers free co-working on Wednesdays after 1 million cups. So if you are able to find a desk on one of the spaces here, one of those tables, then you're welcome to stay. And if you want to do a tour, you're welcome to see Emmanuel or Kristen for a tour of this space. And we also want to say thank you to Kurtu. Kurtu has provided us with the treats. So you can just say hello to Murchia. He does events, so if you ever want to invite him to one of your events and to cater, that's an option. And we are thankful to our sponsor today, LCRG. They are a realty company that helps with commercial space. I'd like to invite Michael to the stage, and he can tell you a little bit about him and his company.
Thanks, Isabel. Appreciate it. My name is Michael Miller with Laughlin Commercial Realty Group. What we do basically is helping companies with office space and industrial space as well. So if you're looking to move into co-working space or move out of the co-working space that you already have because you're outgrowing it, I want to be your guy to help you. That's a free service. The landlord pays us a commission whatever building you move into. So please come talk to me. I'd love to talk to you guys and meet you guys. And yeah, thanks so much, Isabel. Appreciate it. We're happy to be here.
Great, thank you so much. And then we also want to thank Michael K. Bruner He provides the video for us, so if you ever miss a session, you're welcome to go onto our website and capture or watch the video that was captured there. So a round of applause for everybody for taking care of us at Thank you so much. So our next presenter is Kevin from Menooing. He's going to tell us about his business, and we'll do the same thing again, 6 minutes. And so as soon as we reach that mark, we will start clapping. We will love your presentation, but no matter what, we have to start clapping when it's 6 minutes. So welcome Kevin Lee to the stage from Menooing. We welcome him with a round of applause, and please start from him as well. Thank you.
All right, good morning. My name is Kevin Lee. Thanks for having me this morning. You know, people are turned on by different things. What turns me on is actually more than a few things, but I want to share just 2 things with you this morning. The first one is technology, but not because of technology itself, what it can do to solve a real problems. And the second thing turns me on is restaurant industry. You know, I've been a food entrepreneur / restaurateur for more than a decade now. And as much as I love this restaurant industry, I know there's some problem exist, need to be solved. So 2 things turns me on. In other words, I'm passionate about. Restaurant industry, technology has led us and continue leading us to develop this concept called Menooing, shared kitchen restaurant platforms. Did you know that there's more than 1 million brick and mortar restaurant store here in the United States? That's quite a few, right? And the median cost of opening that restaurant is $275,000. That's more than $3,000 per seat. That's pretty expensive business proposition right there. What if I tell you guys this morning that you can actually open your own restaurant with a $500 or less? That would be pretty cool, right? Hopefully in the presentation you'll figure that out. Heavy investment is simply very expensive to get into the restaurant industry. It might sound easy to get in, but it's very, very expensive. But that is not the core or essence of the problems. The real problem exists. Those precious dollar goes into the investment not being fully utilized. And we have identified 4 categories of the capacity that is not being fully utilized. They are time, labor, equipment, and space. You know, I won't have time to give you all the details about those examples of those categories, but I'm going to give you 1 category example. The category of the time. You know, we have more than 1,000 donut shops here in DFW alone. That's a lot, right? And donut shop operation was something like this. Baker comes in early in the morning, bake a product, and at 5:30 in the morning, they open the doors to the customer. And at 1 p.m., they close the shop. So from 1 p.m. to next morning, those thousands of donut shops here in DFW not being utilized. And we should be enable these donut shops to somehow utilize this capacity. And why this matter? Why this is important and critical? Because sometimes the last $1,000 they make can make the donut shop make or break. Not just donut shop, any restaurants out there. That's why it matters. So simply, Menooing is a pretty simple product. There's more than 1 million brick and mortar restaurants out there with the excess capacity. We connect them to people who can utilize that excess capacity. They can be chef, or caterer, or restaurateur. We simply connect them, those 2 parties together. Model itself is very, very simple. Again, we call the brick and mortar restaurateur a host. Anybody else that utilizes the excess capacity, we call them a guest. We basically connect them to 2 parties again. And we have identified some of the few solutions we actually can utilize that excess capacity, but I won't have time to go through all the details. But I'm going to just talk about the first thing. We call it OEM business model. OEM stands for Original Equipment Manufacturer. So we got this business model from the manufacturing industry. Let's say you have a product design or a product, but you don't have a factory to produce them. Well, you don't have to open and then invest in the factory, but you can just outsource that. The factory can produce that for you, right? We apply that very same business model into the restaurant industry, where you have a recipe, menu, know-how, family know-how, a little bit of the operational manual. You can find the brick and mortar restaurant who can produce the food for you. At the end of the day, you share your profit. And there's our model, but I'm going to just talk about the attractions in OEM brand model. So we've been working on this OEM brand model for quite some time, and we're going to continue to focus on this model for the rest of the year. We have 19 shared kitchen restaurants out of 4 physical restaurants, So we basically develop a brand with a recipe, and we find the restaurant with excess capacity and start producing food. And this is look at the store. Obviously, you can see as a pop-up menu at the down, and we have more than that now. But that's some of the example you can see. Growth marketing strategy. So we're aggregating within our own network of the restaurant to prove the case. Actually, this can be done. And then we're going to go outside of the network of the restaurant to start attracting more hosts. And the May of this year, Menooing.com will be open to continue to attract more hosts and guests. Competition do exist. There's commercial kitchen rental places. One of the things is, it does still need heavy investment to open one of these shared kitchen restaurant. I mean the rental place. And competitive advantage for our restaurant will be, since we're using what's already invested out there, host restaurant, right? So we'll be unconstrained by the location, and because of the reason, we can be very scalable. And to the diner, we can give more options as a delivery and pickup and dining. Now and next, we're building a Menooing.com platforms, and then we'll be connecting through them and we'll market them. And that is my end of the presentation. So, what turns me on, as I mentioned to you, two things, right? Restaurant industry with technology, right? And now I can put that into one word, Menooing, shared kitchen restaurant platforms. Through Menooing, we envision those restaurant owner, restaurateur can
Okay, awesome job. So I'm going to kick off Q&A again, like we do every time. And first question is, what can the community do for you? How can we get involved?
Well, any feedback would be definitely appreciated. And then we're going through the seed round of capital. So if you have any suggestions on how to do so in the raising capital in the seed level, and they'll be very welcome as well.
All right, so yes, if anybody has a question, please raise your hand and I'll come around with the mic. Yes, we got one in the back. And I'll come back up this way. All right, here you go, sir.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Rocky. I have seen, obviously, pop-ups around the country, and it's very popular. I'm from back in New York, and certainly in San Francisco, when I go out there, this pop-up model is, it's very practical. It's certainly economically, there's a use for it. My problem has always been the business that has been licensed by the city, the municipalities, is offering this business to this specific owner. When people come in with outside restaurant ideas and whatnot, how's that liability handled when there's like this third-party intermediary? If something were to happen where there was a food safety issue or there was something going on in the kitchen, how do you cover that third-party person in this kind of model? Because I've never understood that, but I know there's obviously a need for it based on how high costs are for starting a restaurant.
Absolutely. I mean, quality control will be critical in our business model. And we work with a lot of third-party vendors as well, and that is hot topic right now. Liability, where they belong to, right? And that's open to discussion, but what we can do as a platform for shared kitchen, the quality control comes in to make sure when people sign up, we ask all these different licenses, for example, like food handler, their certificate. And then from the host restaurant, we've got to make sure they get the right insurance and the liability insurance, and also CEO certificate of occupancy as well. So all those things, that's something we can control. But once that leaves the door, yes, we do work with the third-party companies, and that is hot topic. That's still being discussed.
Hey, good morning, and thank you for telling us your story. My name's Michael. So you mentioned those competitors that are already in market. Talk a little bit about right here in DFW and the interest and adoption of this model, and what you think about how rapidly you'll get traction here and find that it's a really you're gonna get stickiness here in DFW.
Sure. I think the core essence difference between these competitors and us is that we're trying to be a marketplace, and then they're just actually, as I mentioned to you, they actually have to invest money to open this restaurant. I mean, the shared kitchen rental places, and they do exist. For example, like Pilot Works, they just opened 50,000 square feet commercial kitchen here in DFW not too long ago, and I visited there. It's awesome, but it's just two completely different business model. One being just traditional model, but the other trying to be a marketplace, what was the question again? I'm sorry, I lost my track.
Just trying to get a sense of what's happening here in this general space in DFW already.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, for example, how it works. So their clientele would be one of the solution that we picked out, which is the prep work and catering model. There's the main revenue source for them. And this is pretty sizable in the existing market already, because all those food trucks out there on the cater, when they prep the food, they do need to prep the food in the commercialized kitchen. So that's the current model right there in DFW at this time.
One question that I have is kind of where do you see the future kind of this industry, and let's say almost like 5 years from now, where do you see your company going?
We envision that through Menooing, that all these restaurateurs' hard asset, their precious investment can pay off nicely, their hard work can pay off nicely, and all these creative chefs can open their own restaurant without breaking their banks. And all the eaters can be able to enjoy, omni-channel and anywhere, anytime they want. And so I think the trend for 5-10 years, that's our vision for our company. The trend is actually definitely going toward to sharing economy, and obviously Uber and Airbnb being the biggest model right now. So I think instead of investing in more into the market, I think trend would be how can we utilize what's already invested out there and get an optimal result out there.
Sounds like you've got a lot of work done. Do you have any clients yet? Do you have revenue?
So basically, we have 19 shared kitchen at this time operating. So this last 2 months, monthly basis, we did more than 20,000 each month.
And when you raise your seed round, what are you going to do with those funds?
We're continuing to building our building our site, and after that will be apps, and then we'll continue to attract more hosts and then recruit guests.
How connected are you to the name Menooing?
Menooing, it sounds kind of weird, right? But
it sounds like the word manure is the thing.
We got the name from menu, like menu.
No, so, I get it. Yeah. It's just, you're dealing with food and you have a name that sounds kind of like manure.
But actually, what we're trying to say was Menooing is basically that all these chefs can come up with different menus and variety of menus to offer to people out there. So we all, even in our professional chef, you probably thought about opening a restaurant before, right? At once in a lifetime, right? So that's where we got that name from. But that's your point, though.
All right, we've got time for a few more. Okay.
Assuming that the restaurants set their price for how much they want to charge the guests, how competitive are they to the other places that are already renting out space? Because they're usually by the hour. Is it similar on your platform?
Actually, that structure will be very different, since this operation will be operating simultaneously. So the renting place right now is basically they are renting by hours, but you are actually running a restaurant together sometimes, or you find a partner who can run the restaurant for you. So there's two completely different fee structures. So the competition will be more on the fee structure versus would be depending on the P&L side of it, because you're operating a restaurant.
Cool. Do we have any other questions out there? If not, I have some more of my own. So another one that we like to ask, kind of as your personal journey as an entrepreneur, what are some of the lessons that you've learned up until this point, just as an entrepreneur in general, that you might be willing to share?
Entrepreneurship is hard, very difficult. Last 18 years or so, I've been involved directly and indirectly, opening 50 retail/restaurant for the last 18 years. I was the CEO and the founder, most of the cases, actually all the cases. 90% of them are closed now. And it is painful. It is definitely painful. And then somebody told you the last $1,000 can make your restaurant break and make. I know for sure because I was there. I've done that. So entrepreneurship is hard, at the same time very exciting. Very exciting, and then it's definitely great to see all the community encourage each other and just pat your shoulder and saying, it's okay, I know what you're going through. I think it's going to definitely help as a community as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, we have time for one or two more if we have them out there. Okay.
Okay, you said you started about 50 different restaurant businesses. Were they all in Dallas? And maybe tell us like what happened. Is that what eventually got you to this? Like, is this the solution that would have rescued those businesses that are closed now?
And I will say, connected to my past experience, definitely. Yeah, we did have about 10 stores here in DFW, locations like North Park to Galleria, and all these, I guess, prime locations, right? One of the lessons I learned from getting the prime location is you're basically paying for the accessibility and the visibility, right? At the same time, the questions are hitting me as I was running the store, looking at the P&L. Okay, this is almost fixed cost. Not all the time, but almost 99% of the time, your rent is occupancy cost is being fixed cost in your P&L. And I see all these restaurants all busy and nice in the weekend, and then not doing anything during the day. And how can I flatten this, the P&L model? And then I start asking question and asking question. Eventually, somehow led me to think that, oh, we got to use this unused time. How can we do this? I mean, there's 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. happy hours or bar. They open the happy hours at 5 to 7. All this marketing is out there. But essentially, how can we solve this massive problem by doing that? But now I think it's time. I'm not a very techie guy, but the reason I love technology is that now we're enabling this problem to solve through tool of the technology. So that's why I'm excited about the technology.
Okay, and then a quick thing. Have you thought about connecting with people that are, run organizations that are like conscious living and or eco-friendly living, and they're always looking for solutions of multi-purposing buildings or space or things, and connecting with them that way and seeing how they can sort of advocate what you're doing?
I think we can definitely give feedback to each other, but I want to be very focused on our industry of the restaurant.
Oh, sure, I get the restaurant space, I get that, but I'm saying you need people that are also going to see you as sort of your fans, right? And that might come from the conscious living space, because you're using a building, you're trying to use spaces that are not being used, but they already exist, right? So I see that as an eco-solution within the restaurant industry. So if you align yourself with people that care about that, you might make progress faster.
Absolutely.
One opinion.
Thank you.
I don't know what everybody else
Absolutely,
thinks, but-
I do agree.
Okay. I have a company I'll recommend to you. They're not local though, they're in British Columbia.
Sure,
Okay.
sure, yeah.
Thanks.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for your questions. Like I said, if you still have something you want to ask, please do stick around afterwards. Talk with both of the teams. They'll be sticking around for a little bit. And yeah, you can find them both online as well. We have their social media handles and websites on that whiteboard. And if you're also on the 1 Million Cups app, it's also all in there. So yeah, again, thank you all for your questions. Thank you to Menooing for sharing your story with us. And let's give them another round of applause.
Before you leave, we just want to say that you can continue to network, and we also want to just let you know about Dallas Startup Week. Shirag is actually one of the people that's helping organize the event, so he'll give you a quick rundown.
Yeah, just a quick heads up. You guys have heard it from us every week, but Dallas Startup Week is now super close. It's April 2nd through the 6th. There's going to be 17 different tracks in the whole event, and we're expecting about 10,000 people across 15 venues all over DFW. So if you're first time getting plugged into the community here, I highly recommend it. There's an awesome team that's working on the event. It's all volunteer run and it's all free. So we hope you're able to come out and support that. And yeah, thank you again for coming to 1 Million Cups. We'll We'll see you guys next week.